Hi again, everyone. So, the topic for today is social media, and this is a particularly important topic to me at this point in my life because I have an 11-year-old daughter who is obviously increasingly interested in social media, and she was born at a time when she will never know a world pre social media, and it's always going to be there, prevalent. So it's something that I'm particularly interested in. I have a little bit of data that I found on the website ourworldindata.org, and I'll just give you a little bit of information. It's from a couple of years ago, but I imagine can't have changed too much. If anything, the data will have increased. So, looking at the number of people using social media platforms in 2018, Facebook had 2.26 billion people, YouTube 1.9 billion. Then we've got WeChat and Instagram with about 1 billion. At that time, TikTok had 500 million, and I imagine that's probably the one where it's seen the biggest increase, although I can't see that data right here. And in terms of the percentage of young people, and by young people we mean people aged between 16 and 24, in 2014, in the UK, there were 92.7% of young people engaging in social networking in some way, which is absolutely incredible. And if we look at the US, in 2008, the average person was spending just under 3 hours on social media, digital media, I think is the actual terminology they use here. In 2018, that had more than doubled to over 6 hours. Absolutely incredible information. 6 hours of your day, a quarter of the day, using digital media in the United States. Anyway, so talking about my experience with social media, I certainly wasn't the first of my friends to join Facebook. I never joined MySpace, for those of you who remember MySpace. But if I remember correctly, I joined Facebook in around 2007. But many of my friends had already joined, I think at least a year before that, maybe more, because many of them were using MySpace prior to that. But like I said, I never had a MySpace account. So so obviously going back to my 11-year-old, she obviously doesn't have access to Facebook or TikTok. I'm quite strict on that. I think she's too young to have access to those kind of social media outlets. She does have access to YouTube, specifically YouTube Kids, and I encourage her to use that in a responsible way. And of course, I limit her time on that. And so the main reason that I allowed her, she had a phone prior to last year. I think when she was about 10, she had her phone. But she was more using it like a tablet for browsing and for Netflix and other things that she enjoyed. And during the pandemic, she was very isolated from her friends, from her classmates. And of course, we moved into an online learning scenario. And this was the time, and her class was using Google Classroom for a lot of the stuff. And so in order for her to be able to interact with her friends and her classmates, and for necessity for school, I got her a SIM and put that in her phone. And I'm really pleased with how she's been using it. She's pretty good. But as a parent, you need to monitor that, and you need to take care of that. I'm aware as she goes into her teenage years that the influences on social media are not always the best. But yeah, again, back to my use with social media. The main one that I have for my personal use is Facebook. I'm certainly not an active poster on there. I don't publish a lot of posts. I don't even put a lot of photos on there, actually, although I am aware that I live in Spain and a lot of my family lives in the UK, and it's a good way for people from the UK to see photos of the kids, photos of us, to kind of see what's going on in our lives. But of course, you kind of put the highlights on, right? As most people do. I do check Facebook most days, I would say, and I also have the bad habit, which I think many of us do, whenever I'm waiting around for, well, a doctor's appointment or any other kind of thing, waiting for the kids to finish something before I pick them up. I have this habit of mindlessly scrolling. I reach for my phone. It's the first thing that I reach for. I don't reach for a magazine or a book. I reach for my phone and I mindlessly scroll on that. I used to have Skype on my phone because I use Skype for my online classes. And I took that off because I found that was a distraction. So I've taken Skype off my phone. I only have it on my laptop. And that has helped because it allows me to disconnect a little bit from work-related social media. But so basically, if I go back to my opinion on social media, I think it is a good thing. I personally, I'm glad I grew up before social media, but we can't change where we are. And I think if you choose carefully what you use and how you use it and who and what you follow, I think that's really important as well. It can be a great tool if used correctly. But yeah, when deciding who to follow, I like to think, is this adding to my life? Is it bringing positivity? I'm really careful not to, especially at the current time with the pandemic and a lot of negativity out there. Whenever you turn on the TV or look at the news pages, it all seems to be negative and doom and gloom. So yeah, I think this is especially important right now to look for things which bring you positivity and add to your life in some way. I know many people do try some periods of disconnection, and we sometimes, we go camping, or we did go camping more before the pandemic, for a night or two, and we often use that as a time to disconnect, because some of the campsites do have Wi-Fi, but it's usually terrible, and so it's a good opportunity to disconnect from that social network, or just the internet in general, actually, but we're talking about social networks and social media here. So yeah, that's a great opportunity. But of course, as soon as you get back to real life, as soon as you get home, one of the first things you do, or I do, is log on to Facebook and see what's happening, see what I've missed. And it's a really hard habit to break. Now that we've got it in our lives, it's very hard to not have it. So yeah, it's a really, really interesting topic. And yeah, if you use it correctly, it can bring great things, but it can also have its downsides as well. So tell me what you think. Please post below in the comments. What about you? Are you guilty of mindlessly scrolling? How would you feel if you went 24 or 48 hours without social media? And in general, is social media a good thing? So that is the question. Thanks for listening again. Bye for now.